Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about an anti-riot militia. So this is a militia that has hastily come together to defend the community against rioters. And this militia is basically what I consider an untrained militia. What does that mean? Well, even though some of the people within this militia might be highly skilled, right? You might have people there like me that shoot regularly, that have trained with other people. You might have people that are ex-military. However, the people within this militia, because it's been so hastily put together, they have not trained with each other. They don't know how to communicate and coordinate with each other. So that's why I refer to this as an untrained militia. And this has to be considered from the beginning as part of the plan, and it sort of has to be baked into the cake in order to have an effective plan that's going to work. Okay, so we have an untrained militia that has a command and control problem. Okay, and over on this side, I have these little blue circles over here. They represent the rioters. Okay, they're coming in. These are rioters. They're kind of they're not in any particular formation. They're just loosely scattered. However, what I've noticed with rioters is usually you'll have some people up in the front, either the leaders or people encouraging other people to follow behind them. So it's very typical that you're going to have a lot of people in the back, but you'll have a couple of people up in the front that are kind of leading the rioters. Okay, so over here, right, these red circles, these three red circles represent basically what would be the police, or what might be your local emergency services. These are people that have trained together, right? They've been training, they've dealt with prior emergencies. So this is going to essentially be the command structure. These are the people in charge. And it's kind of funny that, because essentially what we're going to do is we're going to put the militia back here under their leadership. And it's kind of funny that this would be coming from me, because in videos I've done in the past, I've expressed a lot of concern with the fact that police often are anti-gun rights, anti-individual rights. So the question becomes, why are we trusting them? Why are we helping them? Well, here's the thing. You got rioters coming into your neighborhood, okay? If we don't help them, all right, what's going to happen is they're not going to stand there and fight all these people by themselves, right? They're going to leave, and then all these people are going to end up in your house. So basically we have to work with them. If we don't assist them, they're just going to abandon the situation. Likewise, they also have to realize that they are vastly outnumbered, and they need our help. So although there is a good deal of mistrust going back many years between the gun community and law enforcement, for this purpose we have to work together, because these people up here, they want to do harm to both of us. Okay, so here's the plan that I see. You got the command structure up here, right? So, and this kind of scales. I mean, you could take this. I got about 30 people up here, 3 here, I got about 10 back here, right? This is the militia back here, and you can scale this. You can multiply this by 5 or shrink this down, by 5. So this is something that can scale up or scale down. Okay. So here's the plan. You have your militia back here. They're behind some type of barricade, right? That's what these squares represent here. Those are most likely cars or trucks. Something ideally like trucks, something a little bit that can offer some good level of cover, right? So you got your militia back here behind these cars or vehicles. And here's the thing. The plan here is this is a line for these guys to retreat behind. Okay. So if they're not able to assert control of this mob up here and stop them at this line, if they feel that they're in danger, right, the militia gives them a place to retreat behind. So basically, these 3 guys back here are the same 3 guys up here. They have a place to retreat behind. So that's the purpose of the militia, right? It's basically a wall that the people that are actually responsible for dealing with this mob have to retreat behind. Now, let's talk about a couple of things. And that's the overall plan. let's talk about the command and control here. So basically, first thing I have here is a fixed position. These people need to know in advance what their positions are. They have to be fixed. The biggest threat to a militia is that they're going to shoot each other, okay? Specifically because it's an untrained militia. So they have to have fixed positions, okay? And they have to be shooting in only one direction, forward, okay? If it comes to that. They cannot be shooting, really sideways. You can't have them in a U formation, or even an L formation, although an L formation is considered a very good formation. Given that this militia is so untrained and so uncoordinated and so hastily assembled, what I would recommend is just a straight line. Okay, now you can curve the ends out a little bit right here. So I have one guy a little further back, one guy a little further back. And these guys are basically covering the flanks so that they're not outflanked, that these blue guys, the riders, don't come around the edges. But again, like this guy knows that he's not shooting up, he's shooting this way, okay? So there's only one direction that these people are allowed to shoot in, and that's straight ahead, nothing to the side. Straight ahead, everybody's just responsible for the line in front of them. They all got AR-15s, they all got 30-round magazines, multiple 30-round magazines, right? So they got more than enough ammunition to deal with any number of people that's in front of them, so they don't have to worry about dealing with other people to the sides, okay? All right, so what we need is some type of communications, right? So we got the command up here. So command moves from here to back here at the point that they decide that this mob has become so dangerous that they no longer want to be up there, okay? So when they decide they don't want to be up here, they retreat back here. They're no longer up there. They're now back here. And from back here, all right, the way that they're going to signal this militia on what to do, right? And there's only, here's the thing with the militia. The militia is what an on-off switch, okay? When your command, your police, your emergency services, it's kind of like, with the faucet, when you turn it, you can turn it, decide how far you're going to turn it, how much pressure you want, how much water you want to come out of the hose. You're able to throttle that back and forth, okay? That's command, okay? The militia is an on-off switch, okay? They're doing one of two things. They're either shooting or they're not shooting. That's it. That's the only information that the militia, that an untrained militia can absorb and function with on a large scale. Now, what we need is a way to communicate, and the communication method is going to be signal flares, right? The same things that, the type of flares that emergency people, police, the auxiliary services, whatever, the type of flares that they usually have on the road, right, when there's an accident. Well, those are going to be your signal flares for fire and ceasefire, because those are the only two commands that we're interested in. So, presumably they have two colors, green and red, okay? So, if they throw out, if and when they throw out a green flare or green flares, right, that's open fire, okay? That's at the point that this mob is charging, okay? We cannot allow this mob to get inside this line over here. The reason why we can't let them get inside the line, because that would force our militia to start shooting in other directions other than straight forward, okay? We want to make sure that this militia is always shooting in just one direction. So we cannot allow this mob to get inside this line that would possibly force the militia to be shooting to the left or to the right or behind them, okay? So when it looks like, now remember, the command has already retreated behind the line, so they already feel like they're in danger. Presumably they were justified in opening fire up here, right? But they made a tactical decision that they didn't want to open fire up here. They wanted to come back here and take a defensive position behind our militia, okay? So when they throw out a green flare, it's open fire, okay? When they throw out a red flare, it's ceasefire, okay? So the militia only knows one command, or two commands: open fire, cease fire. Nice and simple. They are behind cover, right? Again, these are vehicles here. These are trucks, whatever they drove they're on. They're going to line them up like that. That serves two purposes. Number one, it protects, obviously it protects them physically from things that are being thrown at them, or these riders might be armed, they might be shooting, so it offers them some protection. It also hides the number of the militia, right? Because if this, or even hides the militia altogether, because if this mob over here realizes that there is a strong militia formed back here, they might decide that they're all going to try and come around the sides, and we don't want that. We want to know that they're all coming from one direction, which is straightforward, which is, again, we've already put ourselves in this position with the intention of firing forward and only forward, okay? So that's why we want to set up our cars here. We want to hide our militia behind both cover and concealment so that they really can't be seen. Once the command realizes that they don't want to be out here anymore because they've become too dangerous, they retreat back here, okay? And forget about trying to yell any commands to them. That does not work, okay? People cannot hear things. And even if they hear the open fire, they're certainly not going to hear the ceasefire command. So only through flares will they be able to communicate. So green flare, they throw out a green flare, it's open fire. They throw out a red flare, it's ceasefire, okay? So that's our overall plan. We got our guys in fixed positions. We're using signal flares to signal open fire, ceasefire. We're only shooting in one direction going forward, okay? Really important as far as our organization here. Until the open fire command comes, the rifles are decked rifles, okay? Now, of course, everybody's got their pistol, right? That's in the holster, that's on their body, but we don't want our militia guys, walking around, with the rifles on their back or however they carry them. Once they come here, they're going to basically either deck the rifles either on the ground, or if they got vehicles here, put them on top of the cars, pointing in the direction that they need them in. Loaded, round the chamber, safety of the rifle on, right? But not holding the rifles, waving them all over the place. There's no reason for it, okay? Again, we have a lot of people who have not trained together. So we got to basically make sure that our guys don't shoot each other, okay? So once they come on the line, the rifles are all decked. They're either put on the ground or they're put on top of the vehicles facing the direction that we want them to go in. And it's not until the open fire signal is given do they pick them up, take the safety off, and commence firing until the ceasefire command is given, the red flare. And then, again, they put the safety on and they deck the guns again, okay? We don't want our guys, even though they might be individually trained, we don't want them holding their rifles. Pistols are okay because they're in the holster. They're not touching the guns, okay? And this is something that would be easy for our militia to understand because essentially, all these guys have been to a gun range before. And the gun range rules typically is that, when anybody is downrange, nobody's allowed to touch guns, okay? So this is downrange, okay? So if there's any friendlies up here, like when our command when our command is up here, okay, we got friendlies downrange. Just like at a gun range, nobody's allowed to touch guns when you've got friendlies downrange. Only when the command or our friendlies come back here and we don't have any friendlies up here, would they be able to pick up their rifles? And again, in this situation, they're not going to be able to pick them up until the open fire command is given, okay? So that's important. That's an important safety feature. And again, I have it in red here. The militia can only function as an on-off switch. Don't expect anything more from them. This is how they are going to be most effective, just using them as an on-off switch, okay? Let's take a minute to talk about command. This command over here, what they need, right? They need to consider this plan and they need to have a list of phone numbers, okay? They can't wait until the militias, they can't wait until the rioters are already in town to start thinking about who they want to have on this militia line. They got to have a list of phone numbers that they can contact and get the people to where they need to be. So they have to provide directions to the site where they're going to assemble, okay? And they need to give them instructions on what to do when they get there. For example, when you come there, make sure your rifle is unloaded, magazine's full, but your rifle not loaded, okay? You don't load the rifle until you get into position. You immediately put your safety on, okay? So they need to be given those instructions. They have to have their signal flares ready, okay? And they have to understand that the militia, right, is basically a retreat line, okay? that gives them a safe place to retreat behind, and then, give those commands of open fire or ceasefire. Now, it may, if things might change. They, remember, the militia is not supposed to shoot unless the open fire command is given. So at some point they can come out from here and go back up here and deal with this if they deem it safe. But this is a plan for for what I think it would be the successful use of an untrained militia who has not had a chance to train together, but how they could be used effectively for the defense of the community in a riot situation. Now, this is just a plan. I hope it never needs to get used. I think that there's a possibility that we might be getting into some pretty crazy times with this election. The way I think that things are going to go is I think that the Democrats are not going to be able to get enough states to certify their votes, right, for Biden. And what's going to happen is, we've already seen the leftists, getting pretty crazy, and that's when they think that they're winning. When they start losing, they're going to go absolutely ballistic. Okay, they're going to get absolutely crazy. So I think that is it's really possible that we might get into some pretty crazy times. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to put this out there now. I have a feeling that we're going to go into what's called a contingent election. There's a provision in the Constitution where if no presidential candidate gets the 270 votes, and that would happen if the swing states weren't able to certify. If nobody gets the 270, then we go to a contingent election. Thanks for watching. If you're not a member, please subscribe, share this video, give it a thumbs up. See you next time.